Problem number 1, hunger and food shortage. Imagine waking up as a caveman tens of thousands of years ago. The first problem you would face would not be predators or the cold. It would be hunger. There were no stores, refrigerators, or restaurants. If you failed to find food today, you might go to bed hungry. And if that continued for several days, you could die. Cavemen relied on hunting and gathering fruits and roots, but hunting was never guaranteed. Sometimes they chased prey for hours, only for the tribe to return empty-handed. During the winter, the problem became even worse because plants became scarce and animals migrated or disappeared. That is why hunger was a constant companion for cavemen. During some periods, famines killed large numbers of people, more than predators did. So before you worried about any other danger, you first had to find something to eat just to stay alive for one more day. Problem number 2, predators. The danger did not come from just one place. In the forest, a saber-toothed tiger could be hiding among the trees and pounce on you before you realized what had happened. Near the rivers, thirst was not the only problem. A giant crocodile could emerge from the water and drag you into the depths. If you were injured while hunting, the smell of your blood could attract hungry hyenas, which were always waiting for an easy opportunity. On the open plains, you might find yourself surrounded by a pack of wolves that hunted in groups. Even caves were not always safe. You could enter a cave looking for shelter, only to discover that a giant bear had gotten there before you. Children were even more vulnerable, because predators watched weak camps, looking for the easiest prey. As for the night, it was the most terrifying time. You could hear roars and howls, but you had no idea where the danger was hiding. Problem number 3, deadly cold. You might think predators were the greatest danger a caveman faced, but on some nights, the cold was even deadlier. There were no thick clothes, nor were there warm homes. He relied on animal skins and fire to stay alive. Temperatures dropped dramatically, especially during the winter. Sometimes snow covered the ground for many days. If the fire went out, or he failed to find suitable shelter, he could lose his body heat quickly, and he might never wake up the next morning. Problem number 4, injuries and infections. In the world of cavemen, an injury was never just a minor pain. A small cut while hunting, an animal bite, or a fall onto a sharp rock could turn into a serious danger. There were no hospitals, no medicine, and no clean tools to treat wounds. If an infection entered the body, the pain could grow worse. Movement became weaker, and the danger increased day by day. An injury that we can easily treat today could have meant the end of a caveman's life. Problem number 5, hostile tribes. A caveman did not live alone. There were other tribes scattered across different regions, and everyone was searching for the same things: food, water, and good hunting grounds. When resources became scarce, conflicts began. Another tribe could suddenly attack to steal food or take over the land. The battles were fought with spears and stone clubs. They could cause serious injuries or the loss of members of the tribe. Sometimes the survivors were forced to flee and abandon their homeland completely. It was never easy to know the intentions of strangers. The appearance of an unknown group near the camp was enough to create fear and tension, because any encounter could turn into a battle at any moment. Problem number 6, death while hunting a mammoth. Hunting a mammoth was one of the most dangerous tasks a caveman could undertake. This giant animal weighed several tons and had massive tusks and incredible strength. The tribe needed its meat, its hide, and its bones. That is why they risked hunting it, despite the danger. The hunters approached it with spears, trying to bring it down. The mammoth was not only fighting to escape, it was fighting to survive. If it sensed danger, it could charge directly at the hunters, with a speed they never expected. But even a small mistake could have deadly consequences. The mammoth could suddenly charge and slam into one of the hunters, or crush him beneath its massive feet. Sometimes some members of the tribe never returned from the hunt, and even if the tribe succeeded in bringing the mammoth down, there was no guarantee that everyone would make it back alive. The price of that hunt was often very high. Problem number 7, no clean water. You might find food, but that doesn't mean you're safe. You still need water. And finding clean drinking water was one of the hardest challenges a caveman had to deal with. And a lot of rivers and ponds were filled with mud, bacteria, and parasites. And cavemen had no way of knowing that. So they'd drink from almost any water source they could find, especially when they were desperate for a drink. That could leave them seriously sick and sometimes dead. Since humans can't survive long without water, finding a safe place to drink became a daily mission. Problem number 8, lost in the wild. Imagine leaving your camp to search for food and then being unable to find your way back. Today, you can use a phone or a map, but a caveman had none of those things. The world around them was made up of endless forests and mountains and rivers stretching for long distances. It was easy to wander farther from the tribe than intended, especially while chasing prey. As time passed, hunger and thirst would begin to set in. Then came the greatest danger of all, being alone. A lost person did not face hunger alone, but predators as well. That is why getting lost in the wilderness could turn from a simple mistake into a death sentence. Problem number 9, venomous snakes and spiders. Not every danger a caveman faced was huge and easy to see. Some of them were really tiny, but way more deadly than you'd think. In forests, deserts, and between the rocks, venomous snakes and spiders were hiding everywhere. Just one bite was enough to cause unbearable pain, dangerous paralysis, or even death. And since cavemen didn't have modern medicine or hospitals, surviving a bite was never guaranteed, especially if it happened far away from the tribe. That's why the biggest danger didn't always come from giant animals. Sometimes, a tiny creature hiding between the rocks was all it took to end your life. Problem number 10. Drowning while crossing rivers. A river might look calm and completely safe from a distance, but it could hide a deadly danger. Back in the caveman days, there were no bridges, no advanced boats. People had to cross rivers on their own to reach hunting grounds or search for food. But the water wasn't always calm. Some rivers were deep, others had powerful currents that could pull you under in just seconds. And falling into freezing water made things even worse, especially if you were carrying your tools or your prey. That's why crossing a river wasn't just another part of the journey. It was a real gamble, one that could end with you drowning and disappearing forever. Problem number 11. Suffocating from smoke inside caves. Fire was one of the most important things in a caveman's life. It kept him warm, it helped him cook food, and it scared off some predators. But that same fire could also turn into a deadly threat. Caves didn't have chimneys or any kind of ventilation, so the smoke slowly built up inside, especially during cold weather. As more smoke filled the cave, breathing became harder. You'd start feeling dizzy and completely drained. Sometimes, you'd even pass out. And since nobody back then understood suffocation the way we do today, the very thing that kept you warm could also be the thing that killed you. Problem number 12, cave collapses. You might think that caves were the safest places for cavemen, but they were not always safe. Some caves were old and unstable, and their rocks would crack over time, sometimes because of heavy rain or small earthquakes. Parts of the ceiling could suddenly collapse without any warning, and in that moment, the shelter that protected you could turn into a deadly trap. Massive rocks could crush a person or trap them beneath the rubble. There were no rescue teams and no digging equipment. That is why cave and rock collapses were a real danger that threatened cavemen, even inside the place they called home. Problem number 13. Storms and floods. Imagine that you survived hunger and dangerous predators. Then a single storm came and destroyed everything. Cavemen did not have strong houses nor safe shelters. They relied on caves or primitive huts. But nature was not always kind. Heavy rains could turn valleys into raging torrents, and floods could sweep away food and tools, sometimes even people. As for powerful storms, they could uproot trees and turn a simple food-gathering trip into a dangerous adventure. And because cavemen had no way of knowing when these disasters would strike, they could be caught off guard at any moment. That is why animals and hunger were not the only dangers. On some days, nature itself was the greatest enemy. Problem number 14, diseases and epidemics. Deadly diseases aren't just a modern problem. Humans have been dealing with them for thousands of years. Dirty water, constant injuries, and poor hygiene made it easy for diseases to spread. Fevers and all kinds of infections could leave you too weak to do anything for days, and sometimes they killed you. So even something we'd call a simple illness today could be a disaster for them. That's why diseases were one of the deadliest things cavemen ever faced. And that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later.